Welcome into a Monday morning edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet every single day here on YouTube, Facebook, and JordyCulottaShow.com. We appreciate all of you for starting your day with us. If you're tapping into us throughout the day and finding some type of podcast or coming back to us, we appreciate you being here. Make sure and hit that like, share, comment button. That helps us out a ton. Go Chevrolet drives us every single day. Remember, we're online at GEAUXChevrolet.com. They got a couple of locations for you out in LaPlace. They got brand new cars over in Baton Rouge at Go Express Auto Sales. You can pick up a used car over at Go Chevrolet. We are scheduled to meet with Rohan. Rohan's going to be in here at some point talking about the last couple of days for LSU football. We'll get into that. Ross Dellenger, we've got a text into him. A very busy morning for the national writers, obviously covering everything that's going on this college football weekend. And a lot of it starts right here in Baton Rouge, and we'll jump right into it and get your comments, your thoughts, jump inside of the bunker and chat with us. We appreciate that here on the Jordy Culotta Show. As we said, we're driven by Go Chevrolet daily. Our water is provided by True Blue Water. The coffee is brewed locally down here in South Louisiana by Majestic Coffee. Our spice, Papa Earl's. Get Papa Earl's locally anywhere you pick up your groceries. High Neighbor, Rouse's, Calandro's, 30% less sodium than the competition over at Papa Earl's. And our phone guest, whoever we talk to this morning, we'll talk to a couple of people, will be via Metropolitan Health Group. Real doctors, real solutions. That is Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan over at Metropolitan Health Group. They bring you our phone line every morning here on the Jordy Culotta Show. If you missed Sunday night's show, go back and check it out. All of our podcasts is compliments of RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois and the crew at rmb-builders.com. Had a chance to catch up with Bruce Feldman last night. Feldman from The Athletic has a great relationship with Ed Orgeron and LSU football since Orgeron has been the head coach in Baton Rouge, and really shed some interesting light on the last couple of months for LSU and what could be next for the Tigers. So if you missed that conversation, make sure and go back and check it out. It's all over our social media. It's all over our Facebook, all over our YouTube, and online at JordyCulottaShow.com. Lloyd is in here. We're expected a couple of people to be running through here at some point. Remember, like we said, Rohan will be here at some point here on a Monday morning.
Mikey shows up one time. One time, I think he'd have to come ever again.
Well, I think he had a golf tournament this morning.
Oh yeah, he did. That's two golf tournaments for him.
Well, I mean, what do you expect, bro?
Celebrities.
Professional athlete. They live
Must
the
be
life.
nice.
All right, so we got a bunch of people inside of the bunker already chatting, and obviously a crazy weekend for LSU sports, crazy weekend for South Louisiana sports fans. Obviously, the game, 11 o'clock Saturday morning. Beautiful weekend. Just a
banner.
Fantastic weekend as far as the weather was concerned. We cut out of here on Saturday and went down to the French Quarter, went to New Orleans, bounced around, listened to some live music on Saturday night with the Revivalist over at the Fillmore Theater and Harrah's Casino in New Orleans, and it was just awesome to be around crowds and people and music, and even like going out to dinner in New Orleans. For as regulated as the city is right now, it was very calm and cool, and being down there, there was not a lot of people kind of dictating you. But it was a beautiful weekend. I mean, the weather, but obviously the news for LSU. It started to really kind of snowball, I think, Thursday night into Friday morning, in particular Friday afternoon and evening. A lot of people were really kind of chumming about what was happening up at LSU. It seemed like there was something that was breaking at LSU, and they were going to announce something, pretty imminently on the future of Ed Orgeron. And just as the weekend went on, it seemed more and more like that was the case. And then the game kicks off 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, and just a wild game. For as much as we talked last night, we spent about 2 hours speaking last night and shared some time with Bruce Feldman and caught up with some people. We never really talked about the game. I mean, 49-42, instant classic between LSU and Florida. If you're Dan Mullen, for as dark as the days are right now for Ed Orgeron concerning his professional career, they've almost got to be darker in Gainesville when you're talking about Mullen and Florida and the opportunities that they have blown the last 3 years versus LSU. I mean, and the Tigers have Mullen's number in Gainesville. This is the third straight win that they've really kind of upset him in those three. Obviously not in 19 when they were here and LSU was on the national championship run. Classic game, but LSU gets the win. But then, of course, last season with the throw show, with the shoe and LSU being undermanned and Florida playing for a potential trip to bigger bowl aspirations. And then this season, obviously with another down, beaten team for LSU, just banged up, and Florida comes in here and just can't get it right, man. Shout out to Ty Davis-Price. 36 carries, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day, 8 yards per carry. Look, I think Darius Geis is a disgusting piece of trash for what he did while he was at LSU, but we still have to recognize that's whose record he beat on Saturday. He eclipsed both Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis.
Who didn't see that coming?
Yeah, right. I mean, and just incredible. I mean, LSU was biting off chunks of real estate on Saturday in the run game that it looked like Tecmo Bowl. It looked like Bo Jackson in Tecmo Bowl, where you could hand Ty Davis-Price the ball and you were almost guaranteed. He was averaging 8 yards a carry. I mean, but it felt like he was averaging like 25 yards a carry. I mean, he was just galloping up and down the field on Saturday. So it was good to see the junior have a big day out of Baton Rouge. 3 touchdowns for him. He had a long of 40. LSU wins the game. We talked to B.J. Ojulari last night in the defensive performance. He had a hell of a day. His numbers are crazy. I'm telling you, NFL scouts are going to look at that game versus Florida on Saturday and see some of the potential that he has at the next level. But defensively, obviously, LSU struggled mightily trying to stop Florida. They made the quarterback switch on Saturday to Anthony Richardson, and Richardson threw 3 touchdowns. He also turned it over twice. Big fella also had one on the ground running the football. He's an impressive quarterback, man. That's an impressive athlete. He looks like kind of Caleb Williams. He kind of reminded me of OU's Caleb Williams, the way that they kind of use him, his arm strength.
And they're kind of in a similar situation where they came in as Dan Mullen announced, like, no, Emory Jones is going to be the starter. Then you start to see more and more and more of Anthony Richardson, to the point where is he better than Emory Jones? Like, they're going to have to make the switch, like, to start a game at some point, because it seems like he's their better option.
Oh, I think he is definitely going to be the starter mover. And he made plays on Saturday that Emory Jones just can't make. I mean, just like Caleb Williams made throws that Spencer Rattler just can't make. I mean, physically, he's a click or two above the guy that he's in competition with. And so LSU wins the game, and they do it in pretty dramatic fashion, right? I mean, they do it in a style that you were not expecting from the 2021 group, and opening up the offense, both run and pass, look balanced, and get into a shootout with another team, and you outlast them. And you're the last one standing and win the game 49-42. And I thought it was clear from Ed Orgeron's demeanor on the sideline, and back me up if you see this, if you were watching the game, whether you were there or you had a chance to go back home and watch the TV copy when you got back to your place, or you were at the house and watching the game. In watching that real time, and we were watching on TV, I was saying in watching Orgeron's demeanor, and especially his post-game chat on the field with the ESPN sideline reporter, he was cooked. He was neutered. He was not in it, in the sense of he didn't feel like he was the head coach at LSU. It felt like he had gotten news within the last 10, 12 hours that he had been relieved. And in
every sense of the word.
Yes, absolutely. And the way that Saturday went for LSU, it's just another crazy day and time, and what LSU and what we'll look back on this period and what we will talk about it. In the instability of Orgeron him losing his job, still having 6 more weeks on the job, actually losing the gig the day after the most impressive win of the season. But as Bruce Feldman said here last night, he had gotten word on Thursday evening, Friday morning, that it didn't matter if he beat Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas, the deal was done. And like we kind of mentioned throughout the season, the wheels and the gears were really shifted after the trip to Los Angeles. I think that there was concern at an executive level going into the season that a move potentially could have to be made. And I think when LSU administrators were looking at that, that was the worst case scenario. I think when you were looking at a scale of the season for an administrative standpoint, you were obviously kind of looking at where LSU and what they had to do yesterday and throughout the weekend was the absolute worst case scenario where you've got to pull the plug within the season and keep him on board. Because when you looked at it, even in the offseason, even in the summertime, you looked at it and said, wow, I mean, if you get into dire straits, if you get into a place where you can't recover, who's going to take over? Who's going to be the interim coach? And I think they saw, even as far out as the summertime, let's just hope it doesn't get there. And before they even kick the season off, you're dealing with PR problems and threats to the opposite fan base. And they're probably thinking behind closed doors, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it to the finish line. We're going to have something put in place where we've got to be ready for it. And then as the football continued to regress, the public relations continued to be disrespected, the fan base had almost turned Orgeron into a joke. Last week calling in on the radio show, those types of stunts. I mean, that was tough for administrators and decision makers and, people that cut checks to look at and say, we can't deal with this. We have to make a move. It is confusing, and I mentioned this last night. It is confusing from a timing standpoint. If you are on the hook for the nearly $17 million in buyout, and you were going to make the move no matter the case, no matter what happened in the season, whether he beat Florida, Arkansas, Alabama, however the finish, however you get this thing to the finish line, why you make the decision now to announce it publicly? That would be just kind of my only question of, I understand that you're ready to make the move, but what advantage does it give LSU football to make the choice now? Because to me, where the questions really were prominent outside of the program before yesterday, fan base, media members, national talking heads, a lot of people out there were trying to guess what was going to happen with LSU. At what point was the plug going to be pulled? How was this going to be handled by Scott Woodward? As much as we were out there talking about that and mentioning just kind of the timeline of it, to announce it now the questions to me shift internally to LSU football, where outside of the building, we've had a lot of our questions answered. Orgeron's not going to be here next year. The coaching search, as Scott Woodward mentioned yesterday, began yesterday. I think that happened, that's been underway for a couple of weeks now. But now you kind of get a clear sign or vision of where LSU football is trying to go. Internally, if I'm with LSU football, now I got a mountain of questions. If I'm an assistant coach, I'm going up to Scott Woodward. So what's going to happen? Is there a possibility that I could be retained? I don't know. Let me get back to you. If you're a recruit and a recruit's family, what's the future look like? Can you answer these questions? If you're a player on staff right now, you go to the administration and say, hey, look, I'm I'm right here in my classification. I'm supposed to be playing here. I've got this outline for my future. What say you? What's LSU going to do to answer these questions for me right now? So, from a timing standpoint, I understand they wanted to make the move and they were ready to get down the line. But if you were on the hook, because it was always my impression, and by the people that I was speaking with, that they were trying to find holes to poke into that buyout. They were trying to get out of the full allotment of the $17 million. And, to get up and see that he's owed all of it. Well, if you were going to make this choice and you were going to pay him all the money, then get to the finish line and, just kind of keep the facade up of, we're continuing to evaluate. And at the end of the season, you'll make your analysis and make your decision. I'm not being critical of the choice. I'm just saying from a curiosity standpoint, it does seem to raise more questions internally. I think that you can deal with the exterior questions, right? Who gives a shit what the Jordy Culotta show is saying every day? Who cares what they're questioning? Who cares what these local talking heads are asking? What's the situation? What's the deal? The fan base is starting to bark a little bit. You might have to answer some emails and go back and forth. But, for the most part, you can weather the storm if you have a plan in place to get to the end of the season, make the move, cut the check, and move on down the line and say what's next. Now you got 6 more weeks of what could be very, very awkward, uncomfortable, and weird times for LSU football. And, it's been weird. It's been quirky. It's been strange. But now this ratchets up, just the how weird this can be. How is this going to work? Really? How really is this going to work? And I know that there's money that's binding and there's a lot of money that's at stake, so that can keep somebody focused. But when you rip somebody's passion out of what they do, what's the true expectation? What do you really expect? How do we really figure this is going to operate and function? And I'm wondering. I'm not saying that there's a right way, a wrong way, or I have the way. I'm curious on how strange this is. This feels like this is the making of a 30 for 30. It feels like, when you can look back and kind of wrap up what we've been watching, the 2019 season, the absolute tip top of the mountain. Just nobody around to block the view. You can see 360 degrees in every single angle of college football. You are standing on the mountaintop, waving the purple and gold flag with a Louisiana native son flying it proudly to where we are now and where we're even going for the next 6 weeks for LSU football. Doesn't it feel like a 30 for 30? The reports over at The Athletic from Brody Miller and online at si.com at Sports Illustrated, Ross Dellenger, who's going to join us at 8 a.m. this morning, just confirmed. We'll talk to Sports Illustrated's Ross Dellenger here on the Jordy Culotta show, as he's been on top of this story from the jump. He broke the news that LSU was moving on. He broke the news on the full buyout being paid. Dellenger working overtime this weekend on the LSU beat. We'll talk to him about what he's learned over the last couple of days and what he anticipates next. But it's an incredible scenario when you think of big-time college football in the Southeastern Conference and a national champion within the last 3 years and the state that LSU is in right now. And again, like I've always said throughout this process, I trust Scott Woodward. I do wonder how much influence is going to be at the table. the more and more this thing gets away from Orgeron being relieved of his duties and moving on to the next guy, the more you hear how much influence William Tate, the new president, is expected or he believes himself to have in this process. Nobody from the athletic side has said anything about, who's making the choice. The last time we were in this situation, we had a famous interview on our radio show where it was just me. I was in there by myself that morning, way over my head. If I go back and listen to that interview, I was unprepared and really just didn't have the professional experience or charisma to handle that interview. Joe Oliva really kind of walked all over me. He did. I mean, my voice was cracking.
You could feel it happening.
It was just, I didn't know how to ask the questions. I knew what I wanted to ask, but I didn't know how to ask them professionally. And I asked him who is going to be the search on this, and he fired back, "I am the search." And that was the quote that was like wildfire that went everywhere. But that was, you knew. From that interview, you knew how you're going to get to that choice. How did he get to Ed Orgeron? He told you in a radio interview 6 weeks before that he's making the decision. Scott Woodward has not come out and said, look, this is who I'm confiding in. This is who I am weighing the decision with their opinion and analysis. And how much William Tate, the president, has in this is going to be interesting. I believe that this is Scott Woodward's decision to make. I think that Scott Woodward has been gearing his professional life up to this choice. I really do. We're brought to you daily by City Cafe. City Cafe is on O'Neill Lane. George O'Neill has been there for over 100 years. Has been in business for over 100 years. They are hiring right now all positions within the restaurant industry. Front of the house, hostess, kitchen, bar, managerial spots, all open. If you're looking for work, get in touch with Squeaky Miranda and Cody Miranda over at City Cafe. Great lunch specials every single day. Brunch starts at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Stop in and see him at City Cafe, citycafebr.net.
He's slinging a lot of double cheeseburgers, I've got a feeling.
The man can afford them. But when you look at just who's making this choice, how are they going to get to the next LSU head coach? I am curious to hear on who's at the table, who's swinging the weight, whose voice is carrying, who's the one that they're paying attention to the most. Because like I've said over the last couple of weeks, and I believe this, Scott Woodward has done his time at LSU. In the early 2000s, he got away from Baton Rouge and went and got great experience at the University of Washington, at Texas A&M, and now finds himself back in Baton Rouge in his home city, at his home school, about to hire the LSU head football coach. He has been looking forward to this day for nearly 20 years, in my opinion, because it has always been his aspiration to work in the executive office of the LSU athletic department, maybe even higher than that. Maybe even his goals are even higher than the LSU athletic department, but he is a proud Louisianian. He is a proud and former LSU alum that understands the weight and scope of this job and how important it is to knock this thing out of the park. So whoever has the voice at the table, I understand that there is a pecking order, but ultimately this should be Scott Woodward's decision to make. Scott Woodward is in the best, in my opinion, position to make this choice. And he's also been gearing up for this his entire professional life. And he knows that you really only got one cut at this thing. And you got to knock this thing out the park. And I think he's been doing his due diligence behind the scenes for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, maybe even over a year now. If you dove into Miller and Dellenger's articles over at SI and theathletic.com, respectively, you see the last 2 years of LSU football has been mayhem. it has been chaos. It has been utter confusion from within. And really and truly, salute to those players for putting up with the BS from the adults that they entrusted to lead them when they signed their scholarship papers, and that they're really still here, the most of them. Because if you read those 2 articles, I mean, whew, sheesh. You don't think these guys have partners on other rosters saying, are y'all dealing with this type of BS?
What is going on there?
So, you know, I mean, obviously, it is time for a change, and the change has been made. But I'm hoping that Scott Woodward has the majority of the voice at the table to make this choice, because he's the right person to make this hire right now. Jeb Whitley says, Jordy, would you be concerned if it ends up being Chadwell or Napier? Is this job too big for them? Love the show. We appreciate it, Jeb. Thanks for the donation as well, man. Look, I don't think that you can definitively say that it's not. In my gut and in my heart, I feel like they're prepared, both of those guys. And he's talking about Chadwell at Coastal Carolina and Napier at Louisiana Lafayette, obviously. Those guys are very bright-minded football coaches that, you know, Napier in particular has been waiting for a selective opportunity. And I think, you know, people that do that, they're very confident in themselves. Napier, to me, comes across as a very self-confident individual and is waiting on just the right opportunity, which intrigues me about Billy Napier, the football coach. Because if you watch his team and his program, it is difficult to do what he has done in Lafayette in the short time that he has accomplished, bringing in a competitive program and providing so much organization and structure to that overall program every day. I mean, people that have been in that program, people that are in that program, coaches that have been in and come out of that are just blown away at how much the attention of details are paid attention to day in, day out by Billy Napier and the Louisiana football program. It's impressive to see what he's done in a short time, in 4 years at that program. I don't care at what level it is. But I know that when you're talking about a stepping stone to the next job, is it big enough to handle the LSU gig? You can't say definitively yes or no, but it feels like yes. If we're voting here, I would vote yes. Potential could be burned if he doesn't, if it's too big for him, I guess. But, you know, there's only a couple of people here in this scenario that you really can check off whether or not the experience that they have has them set up for the gig. And I'm telling you, you know, Bruce Feldman said it last night, and we've been making phone calls since the news started to swirl on Fridays, and one name that you always hear, and there's actually 3. One of the 3 names that you always hear when you talk to a select, you know, to a spread group of people in and around this search is Jimbo Fisher. And Jimbo Fisher's name keeps popping up. And I don't know if this is a smokescreen. I don't know if they're using it for, you know, for leverage. I don't know if, I mean, how much money can Jimbo really need in Texas A&M? I mean, he can't be using LSU's job for more negotiating. I mean, you know, he's making $10 million a year. So, you know, I mean, it can't be about more money for Jimbo. I'm just saying, look, his name keeps popping up. James Franklin and Mel Tucker are the other 2 that seem to be gaining steam. Mel Tucker in particular, you know, seems to be steamrolling here. His name is kind of picking up traction. James Franklin and, you know, Jimbo really have kind of been there. So, you know, I mean, we've seen the way that Scott Woodward has worked on a very, you know, much more smaller scale. LSU baseball is a huge hire for the university, but as far as the national perspective goes on it, I think, it doesn't weigh in comparison to what the LSU football job means. But we've seen Woodward, pluck big names like Kim Mulkey away from Baylor after 20 years of existence there, and Jay Johnson, who seems to be one of the hottest names in college baseball, into LSU's baseball program. What gives us any sense that he's going to miss on this? I'm very confident that Scott Woodward is going to hit this. Because not only has he's been preparing himself for a long time, in my opinion, his track record speaks to the fact that he's good at this stuff. He knows how to do this. This is his best quality as a leader, is bringing in the right people to guide programs, bringing in strong personalities, strong leaders that he ultimately pays, entitles, and lets fly. So that's why I believe that it's Woodward's decision, man. It's his choice. Let him make this, let him do this for the sake of the LSU community, for LSU, for the state of Louisiana. He deserves to make this decision and choice and have the majority of the weight in his chair. And I hope it happens like that. It'll be interesting to see how it works and how this thing shakes out. It's going to be a crazy next couple of weeks at LSU covering this program. Everything from a coaching surge to how that's going to just the dynamic of Ed Orgeron still walking the halls.
Your head coach is your interim coach.
Again.
And this is the role he thrives in. He looks better. He already looks more confident. I don't know what it is about him, but that's where LSU football was, to the point where they had to fire Coach O, but then they didn't have someone to replace him, so they still hire him back as interims. Like, your role has changed. You're no longer head coach, but you're interim head coach. Like, you won't be coming back. And I think a lot of what happened, I guess, yesterday with that press conference was Woodward getting out in front of, look, if he runs the table, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't want, because then people start to pick sides. They start picketing for O, and they're going to want, he could win the fan base back. And I think Woodward was kind of smart to get out in front of it. Like, look, this thing's over. I don't care if he wins. If he goes into Ole Miss, beats them, takes a bye week, beats Alabama, like, I don't care if any of that happens, he's fired. Like, that's that. So I think that was Woodward's play yesterday, to get out in front of it, and then you have to turn to O and say, all right, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand it from that sense of Woodward. I think this weekend, that was going to happen either way. That news was
out.
He was done on Thursday night. He got the news on Thursday night that they were moving on from him. On Friday, it became cemented and, kind of put to paper. The terms were put to paper and agreed upon and even signed. And Saturday, he was the interim coach at LSU. You could tell. You could tell by his demeanor on the sideline. You could tell even more in the post-game chat on the field with the ESPN sideline reporter. That was not Ed Orgeron. That wasn't the emotion that you've seen from him over the last 5 seasons. That's not the way he would handle a big-time win in that situation and scenario. So you could see that the writing was on the wall. And yesterday, yes, you're right. I think that press conference and those statements are to just get out and say, look, man, you could do this every weekend. We could go through this, and I hope you do for our fan base's sake. But it's not going to matter for your future in LSU and in Baton Rouge, which, goes into just how bad it was. Doesn't it? Daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. Rhett Bourgeois and that crew over there at RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com. Get in touch with them for custom design homes, for any handiwork you may be done around the house, commercial projects that you need around the office. They're commercially licensed over at RMB. Check them out online at rmb-builders.com, rmb-builders.com, to get in touch with Rhett Bourgeois and his crew over there. I mean, it really does give you a sense on just the disarray and the chaos over at LSU for this move to be made right now without anybody on staff that you can trust as an interim. I mean, isn't it kind of Orgeron's last greatest failure on display at LSU? And again, I'm not here to come and run victory laps on this thing. I'm not here to dump on Orgeron. The move has been made. The man has lost his job. It's time to flip the page. It's time to move on. But it had become so bad. I had gotten and seen so much stuff about how many days are you going to have to hear you dump on Orgeron. Look at how bad it was. It was so bad that, I mean, Orgeron and Panamsky were isolated in the LSU football office where they weren't talking to anybody. I mean, making comments publicly around the team, around the coaches, around boosters of telling, they can fire me openly. I mean, come on. What type of culture and what type of workplace environment is that going to create? I mean, everybody's walking around on eggshells and glass. Nobody can talk to one another. Nobody can get their questions answered. I mean, it's just a hell of a scene up at the LSU football office the last couple of months. I mean, you talk to people up there, and I mean, they just dread going to work. I mean, haven't we all had that feeling? Whether it's you dread going into the office or you dread leaving the office and going home. Is there more of an uncomfortable feeling in the world of being out of place and uncomfortable at your house or at your job? In the last couple of months at LSU football, it has just been walking on fire to get to the office. Tiptoeing on broken glass and coals around the everyday functionality of the program. Miller and Dellenger highlighted that. They brought it to light in their articles over at The Athletic and at SI.com. You can read those very easily. They're online right now. We're going to talk to Ross Dellenger here in 20 minutes and try to just kind of get his thoughts of what happens and where LSU goes next. But, with that move being made yesterday, I think it was a clear sign of just how chaotic times have been in LSU football. And, look, man, they may not be done. They may not be done, but now at least or people have the security, recruits at least have the knowledge that change is coming, that a change will be in place. And one thing that we have gotten from recruits is that Scott Woodward is the most accessible athletics director in the country. Answers questions, talks to decision makers like the parents, the brother, the sister, the girlfriend, everybody around the recruit, and has opened himself up with phone numbers and can answer questions and can get...
He can recruit you.
Whatever you want, whatever you need, whatever the sense of security that you're looking for as far as LSU is concerned, ask and call him. So...
Do you think this could happen anywhere else in the country? I know it's a very broad question, but if you saw this and heard this, it just seems very LSU and very Ed Orgeron. It's on brand for what the last 5 years have been, which is, I mean, going every which way, every direction. And like you said, it's chaos. And then you have the only answer is to turn, like to quell the chaos, you almost create more chaos. And it seems like, just with the announcement, it seems like that maybe that will work because he won't be as crazy. He won't be hair on fire trying to save his job and going 100 miles an hour. He can relax and sit back and kind of maybe let coaches coach. And, it's like a breath of fresh air, but it's the same air you've been breathing, but somehow it feels different.
We mentioned Cajun Ready Mix, and I'll get to that. Hold that. CajunRMC.com. We just mentioned Rhett Bourgeois. If you are a contractor, if you are out there in construction and you're looking for concrete needs, get over to Cajun Ready Mix. They strive to be the premier provider of quality concrete for residential, commercial, industrial, municipal sites. Online at CajunRMC.com. That is CajunRMC.com. They've got 9 plants around the greater Baton Rouge area, which means that guarantees all of their deliveries will be completed on time to the exact specifications. Online at CajunRMC.com. I've never heard of this. I've never seen this situation like LSU is experiencing right now. Do I believe that they happen more often than we may not know? Probably. There's probably a lot of instances within college football where administrators walk into their college football coach's office and say, you're done at the end of the year. We're going to get through this season. You're going to play nice. You're not going to make anybody aware that you know you're done, because we're going to make sure and keep this thing afloat. But you're not coming back next year, and I'm just giving you the respect to go out there and find work if you need to, right? Like, I mean, we're going to have that conversation. Dellenger needs to go now. We're going to call Dellenger now. So you know what? We'll ask him. He probably knows better than we do on how many times this has happened, or how much this stuff happens at the college football level. All right, Ross Dellenger, who has been on top of this story, has broken every piece of news in and around this story, is joining us in 30 seconds. Let me reset. I'll be right back with you here in the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. By the way, Go Chevrolet announced, as we said, they've got their Laplace dealership with brand new cars, used car lot in Baton Rouge. They're opening up a brand new Go Chevrolet today in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So there you see the brand absolutely exploding for Go Chevrolet, a brand new family member up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, rocking the Go Chevrolet brand. Opens up today. So shout out to the crew, Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the entire family over at Go Chevrolet. Give me 15 seconds, 30 seconds. We'll be right back with Delly. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Ross Dellenger has been on top of this story from the start of it. Every piece of news that is broken around the LSU football job, you've heard first from Ross Dellenger. He had the news on Sunday of Orgeron being out. He had the news over the weekend that the buyout was being paid in full, nearly $17 million. He is all over the place this morning. He's got a couple of minutes for us here in the Jordy Culotta Show. Thank you and good morning, Ross.
Good morning, Jordy.
You have been on this beat before. You understand how chaotic the LSU football scene can be. Can you describe the last 72 hours now from the national viewpoint?
No, I can't describe it. It's it really is kind of hard to describe. This one, unlike kind of the Les Miles situation. I felt like the Les Miles situation back in 2016, in a way, creeped up on us. It was so early in the season. Like, I just didn't necessarily expect them to do that. It wasn't as drawn out as this one felt. So this one just, you just could see it coming weeks before. It was clear that something was going to go down, and people might think that it was, that it was odd that it happened after a win, not only a win but a pretty big win at home and all that stuff. And it just goes to show you that this had been discussed days before, and in fact, I think Ed Orgeron made it public at the news conference yesterday that he was told Sunday after the Kentucky game. So this was a week of negotiations, I guess you could describe it.
Were you surprised to see that buyout was being paid in full, nearly $17 million? It was always my assumption that LSU was kind of because it was talked about early on in the season. I think everybody was kind of catching the whispers that it was not if, it was when this was going to happen. But LSU was trying to maybe long play this thing so they could poke holes in that buyout and see how low they could get the number.
Well, I guess I was a little surprised, but I think if you look back on the history just of this situation in college sports, and you'll find that happens a lot, that a school just writes the check and the two parties split. And I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. One is when the school does decide to fire a coach for cause and either negotiate the buyout down or not pay it at all, it rarely works out. It rarely wins, because there are usually court battles and stuff like that usually don't go the school's way. They usually go the coach's way. And so there's that. And there's just all the things around the university that could emerge if you have to fight some kind of court battle, from both sides. So the Orgeron side could have things, the LSU side will certainly have things, and you'll just have them come out in public, and it just looks messy. You'll remember Jordy Culotta trying to save whatever it was, like $500,000, which to LSU is like $20 over John Chavis,
right? And
that went to court. And I can't remember. I'm pretty sure LSU lost. John Chavis got his money. That's usually how it works in court. The coach usually gets the money. And as I recall from that, because I remember I was on the beat during all that, covering all those and getting all those documents. All the dirty laundry came out. I mean, everybody was interviewed. I gave testimonials and all this stuff, and just nasty stuff kind of came out. And LSU ended up losing in paying lawyer fees, plus paying John Chavis, I believe. So it just doesn't work out a lot of times.
How awkward do you expect it to become over the next 6 weeks?
Yeah, one of the things that I was even more surprised over, rather than a buyout, was that Ed was going to complete the season. It's a little rare to see that, for a school to allow that to happen. If you fire a coach, fire him, is usually what people might say. So that's certainly a unique to see, but I think it probably does speak to some of the things that Scott Woodward said last night at the news conference, right? Is that, him and Ed are he said that they were friends and they're through and through Louisiana guys and all this stuff. So, I mean, all that probably plays into it, that I guess they have that relationship, and Ed Orgeron has that relationship, I guess, with a lot of people at the school. Being a native Louisianian and went in leading the team, to the 2019 title. And from what I understand, what he said yesterday, that he wanted that. Ed wanted that, and it sounded like the school wanted that too. Maybe more so, and Woodward mentioned this multiple times, for recruiting purposes. So it actually sounds like they usually agreed to do that, which, again, is unusual, but I can understand it because of the situation with Ed's connection to the state and the school, and him just 2 years ago, winning a title.
Who do you expect to have the influence on this hire? Who do you expect to be at the table?
Well, and I wrote this in the story yesterday. We posted last night, but I think the new president has, in his previous stops, South Carolina, Wisconsin, he's at a few more places, but those are the big football kind of schools that he was at. Just talking from people to people there, and as well at LSU, he's been integral, I think, in athletics, in athletic decisions, and I think he was integral in the football coaching situation over the last week or two. And he's just on campus, 3 months or 4 months or so he's been on campus. So that's interesting. So I would imagine that he's going to have some influence there. But you kind of got to let Scott Woodward work. He has proven that he can hire great football coaches and great coaches, and that he can go out and get the really successful big name that wins games, sells tickets. So I just, Scott should have the power. It is at LSU, Jordy. It goes beyond the school president. You got all the board members as well, and all that, and a lot of the boosters. So there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. But I hope they all kind of understand that Woodward's past, what his past is, and how successful he's been in hiring, and kind of let him cook.
Yeah. Who are some of the names that pop here early on in this search?
Well, right now, and I'll preface it by saying it's just kind of fodder right now. It's so early. I just don't believe hardly anything I hear. But you just have the typical names being thrown out. Those names at the top of the sport, and you hear you hear the minority direction, right? The minority route. You hear that a little bit, which would include guys like James Franklin and Mel Tucker, and I know across the country, Mel Tucker's name does seem to be gaining steam, and it certainly is a name that I heard from Baton Rouge people for the last week. So those are two that are certainly intriguing. Some of the national outlets have continued to push and mention Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
LSU interviewed him in 2005 for the job when they hired Les Miles. They pretty much had the deal done in 2015, right, for him to replace Les Miles. And then they flirted again with him in 2016. And I just don't believe there's going to be a fourth flirtation. I just don't think it's there. And I could end up eating those words, but I just don't think so. And then you have, the lower rung, kind of next rung of candidates, right? Like the Lane Kiffins, which is really intriguing. Billy Napier's right down the road, and then you got the names that would be like, what they hired him, and I don't necessarily expect them to, because of all the situation the school is dealing with, but certainly they're big names that would draw people to you. Do you reach out to like a Hugh Freeze or even an Urban? I know that's crazy to say, but then you have those big, or do you reach out to, even some of the names that people might think, well, there's no way they would leave, for a parallel job, like a parallel move, like a Lincoln Riley or something, or Brian Kelly, or, it sounds crazy, but you know what? Scott Woodward's done that before. It would be a very Kim Mulkey, Jimbo Fisher, like when he was at A&M, hiring those guys. So it feels like the field is fairly wide open.
Ross, do you get the feel within the coaching community of this job kind of being the one that people want that's open? It looks like obviously USC's open. It feels like Miami could be open at some point. LSU is now open. Is this kind of the king of the hill right now?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty good chances that this is going to be the best job in the cycle this year. This is the top 3, top 5 job, I would say, when you combine the recruiting territory with the resources, in the history of the school, and there's no better judgment of a job than looking at the fact that the last three head coaches, each completely different from one another, very different, won a national title. That there's nothing, there's no bigger selling point than that. So I think LSU's the top one this cycle, and you might have Miami in there. Obviously, you got USC. You might end up having maybe even Virginia Tech. There'll be several more, but I don't think it's even close. LSU, they might have some competition with USC for certain candidates, but I would guess that they're number one in everybody's mind this cycle.
We are biased, but popular belief is that Ross Dellenger is the best college football writer in the game right now. He has been on top of every single piece of news that has come out of this LSU football story. He was the first to half that they were moving on from Orgeron, and he was also the one that broke the news that they're giving him his full buyout. He is a must-follow on Twitter if you are a football fan, a college football fan. Thank you for your time as always, Ross.
Hi, Jordy. See you.
Later, buddy. There is Ross Dellenger on Twitter at Ross Dellenger is where you find him. Edward Jones is our financial advisor. Let Daniel Newman be yours. You can find Edward Jones and Daniel Newman by getting in touch with them very easily. Best place to do that is email Daniel Jones. Daniel Newman at daniel.newman.
You can email Daniel Jones, too.
Yeah, right.
He looks the part.
He does. He definitely does. But you can email our friend Daniel Newman at daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. You can also get in touch with him over at Magnolia Square Drive over there in central Louisiana, right across from Stabs, by calling him at 225-261-8262. 225-261-8262 is the phone number to get into touch with Daniel Newman. Financial advisor, 401k, Social Security, any investment questions that you may have, let him answer them today. If you're in the plant industry, if you're in and around and work in that industry, Dow, BASF, Exxon, any of those spots, and you've got questions about your financial security and stability, let Daniel answer those questions for you because he's got so much great experience in that trade. Every time I go to his office, there's somebody coming out of his office. There is somebody in the waiting room waiting to get to him that is from that industry. He's got great experience in helping people within the plant industry here in South Louisiana, all over the state of Louisiana. Get in touch with Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman, that's Newman, Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com. Our friend, our financial advisor, let him be yours. Let him answer your financial questions today. It's hoop season coming up. He'll probably corner you for about 30 minutes of basketball talk because he's an absolute junkie.
He looks a bit like Dabo Sweeney.
Yeah, you got a little Dabo look to him. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com. Buttoned up, bro. You want your financial advisor to be buttoned up,
Yes,
trusted.
you don't want me doing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. If me and Lloyd walk into the room, you're kind of picking up your folder and just saying, I think I'm at the wrong spot. Daniel walks in, you feel good.
Just all cash.
You feel good.
Cash everything.
Right, that's right.
Be very liquid.
That's right. I got an account off an offshore account. I might need you to
Move some
scramble
money
a couple
around.
of dollars and cents with. That's all right.
Am I doing this right? No.
Odds are Daniel could probably help you with that. He probably doesn't want to, but he'd probably give you some good advice. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com. Good stuff from Delhi. Let us reset. We'll be back with the 8 o'clock hour here in the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. True Blue Water. True hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU, bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU, bluewater.com. Papa Earl's, the fine spice, originating right down here in South Louisiana by our guy Mark Pop Norman. Developed it back in 2018 and won Amazon's Newcomer of the Year in 2019. They pride themselves in having 30% less salt and sodium than the leading brands at the same price point. You can find them locally. Look for Papa Earl's at Rouse's, Calandro's, Mathern's, High Neighbor, and more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Abear's Specialty Meats, home to the finest boudin in South Louisiana. 2 spots right here in Baton Rouge and out in Prairieville. Stop in and see them in the Dutchtown Shopping Center on Highway 73 or right here in Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway. Online, abearsmarkets.com, and they're all over social media. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Abear's combines perfect seasoning with that authentic Cajun flavor. Find out for yourself. Baton Rouge on Jefferson Highway and in Prairieville on Highway 73. abearsmarkets.com. Welcome back in here to a Monday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Our friends over at Go opening up a brand new spot today. Shout out to them as they were opening up in Covington, Tennessee. I think I said Chattanooga. I think
it's Covington though.
It is. It's Covington, Tennessee. Express Chevrolet is opening up there. The brand is expanding. So shout out to the crew: Lee Carney, Nick Richard, everybody over at Go Chevrolet for their support over here on the Jordy Culotta Show. As that is not, this is not a rerun. Those are not your eyes fooling you. The Carpool Queen is
really
here in the flesh. She has not quit the show. She has not moved on to another show.
Lots of rumors.
Lots of
I just want to say this to all the people who are like,
lot of message board. A lot of message board
Why would
material.
they hire me? I don't ever know what I'm talking about, so no one else is hiring
it looks
me.
like they go down that route every now and again.
That's true. That's true. So
If
no
I could just find
worries
somewhere
there.
else to go, I would. Jordy Culotta
No
Show's
one's
volatile
hiring me.
over there.
Jeez,
A
man.
revolving door.
Good Lord. I guess. Come
Is he
on
hard to
in.
get along
Shit.
with?
Why not? Come on in. Tell us all your secrets.
What's the rumors about?
It's good to see you.
Thanks, y'all.
Fresh kicks, bro.
Fresh kicks. Corduroy. Thought I'd break them out in this cool weather.
So they hear you coming.
They do hear me coming.
That is
Yeah, they're different, huh?
Sherbert.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember the name of the colorway, but yeah.
How was your weekend?
It was great. Y'all, that game was,
Which one?
well, the LSU
Okay.
Florida game. What do you mean?
Yeah, right.
Well, I
And
mean,
then the Ole Miss game, too.
there were other games. But yeah, that was the atmosphere in there, like starting off compared to like, third quarter. Was,
So you were there.
Yes, I was there.
What was the
I'm
experience
always
like?
there, Jordy.
I know.
You're the only
It
one
was
that doesn't
great.
go.
I mean, it was so, it
I
was
know.
kind of like not doom and gloom in the beginning, but just kind of like, yeah, we're all here just hanging out for the food and like socializing or whatever. And then the crowd, I mean, it was so exciting. It was like old times.
How many people were there?
Not that many. I mean,
It seemed loud,
Can you
though.
can you
It
judge
did.
that? Do you?
No, I'm very bad at that.
So,
You
I
know
mean,
this.
I know, but I mean the place.
Never
the,
mind.
The place sits 100,000. I
Okay.
saw that the top there was nobody there.
No, there was
the
nobody
top
there.
was on
There
both
nobody
sides?
there. Right.
On both sides, nobody was there?
It was very sparse on the
Okay.
top.
And
it-
then on LSU side, the Goldbacks, the chairbacks looked like they were kind of half empty.
Yeah, but it was deceiving because of the different chairbacks
Right.
and colors. It looked like
I think
it
that's
was
the reason why
fuller.
they have
Oh, they
those
do
there.
it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
But just watching on TV, they were very creative with their shots because I
They
thought
were.
a lot of people were there.
They were very creative.
Because I guess the student section was packed, like it should be. It seemed
Yeah.
like they were there, like front to back.
Yes.
And I
Not
was
many
like,
Florida people there
yeah, well,
at all.
they don't
You know
want to
what,
come here
though?
at all. They stink when they play
You know
us.
what though? I was in the French Quarter on Saturday, and they were everywhere.
Were they really?
They
No.
were everywhere. I don't know if they didn't make the trip or if they just made the trip and they came back to New Orleans on Saturday, but there was orange and blue everywhere in New
Okay.
Orleans on Saturday. By the way, New Orleans tourism seems like it's back.
It does.
I mean,
That's
like
what that place needs.
live
Yeah.
music. We were at live music on Saturday night. We saw the
I
Revivalists at
saw that on your Instagram.
Fillmore, which was
So
incredible.
awesome.
But we also, after dinner, in between the show, we were walking up and down I believe we ended up on Esplanade right there on the corner, and we just walked into a bar right there, and they were playing live music, and we just sat there for like 25 minutes and caught the end of this guy's blues set, which was kind of retro New Orleans. Like, I mean, like when we walked out of there, I mean, like Kelly and I like first started dating right before COVID, and like that was what we would do. When she lived in New Orleans, we go down the quarter, walk around, get something to eat, go listen to live music. It was just very natural. I mean, it was like kind of like that's what life in New Orleans was like. And to be able to do that on Saturday, we kind of like both looked at each other when we came out. We're like, that was kind of cool, man. I mean, like that was just very. We haven't done that in so long. I mean, just but the coolest part about it was that it was so easy. Like you just kind of like we ate at the Italian Barrel, we walked across the street and listened to live music, and there was no pushback on it.
That's great.
So it was fun. It was great.
That's great. Well, you missed a very exciting game in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, it seemed like it.
You did.
It seemed
and amazing weather. Were you there, Lloyd?
No, I had to go to Alexandria.
Okay.
So
well, it was
got to watch it with
weather.
the fam. Yeah, we were watching outside actually. So it was weather was even nice in Ellick. It was a banner day to be outside and watch football.
It was.
The weather was incredible. It was an unbelievable weekend. Looks like it's going to be like that again here on this Monday.
I know. We had to turn the AC off.
Open the door. Yeah.
Good. So yeah, that was a fun game. Not so fun to go home and watch my team lose.
Yeah, you couldn't have anticipated anything good happening there.
I thought maybe there would be a touchdown though.
No, after Alabama, after a loss, and they have to go play Mississippi State.
But Jesus.
I mean,
was that three? Is that 3 field goals?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
it
gross.
was rough. It was
49-9.
Oh.
It was rough. I turned it off. But like Noah said, he was like, how did you make it that long? I turned it off as the last touchdown was happening. I was like,
that's enough of that.
The end of the Ole Miss-Tennessee game was really kind of the reason why I think that LSU has to move on Lane, which I hate, because Lane is still my top choice for this job. I wish that there was a place that you could get to him without all of the BS that comes along with his name. It's not as much him.
Yeah.
It's really his name.
He's polarizing.
He's that type of character where he brings the worst out of a lot of people.
And he doesn't care that he does it.
And he doesn't have any apology about that. And on Saturday, the way that game ended in Knoxville, first off, was classless by Tennessee fans.
Were y'all watching that live?
I wasn't watching it live.
I was like, why aren't y'all responding to my text? I'm like, who is watching this? I mean, I was on the edge of my seat. That was insane.
That was wild.
First of all, did you think that the first down was a first down, or was it short?
See, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't know what Sean about either.
Are you serious
No,
right now?
no. The only thing that
Is this a sports show?
I know. I really checked out on sports. I really checked out on sports on Saturday. But I saw
stuff going on.
I saw the reaction to just the fan base.
I thought it was a first down, and I've been arguing that.
Did Ole Miss have the ball? Or Tennessee had the ball?
Tennessee.
Okay,
Tennessee.
so this would have given them a chance to come back into the game.
Yes, and I mean, I watched it over and over. They replayed it over and over, and a lot of people disagreed. I was in Mississippi this weekend and yesterday, and there was an Ole Miss person there with me who was like, absolutely, it was not a first down. I get it, and I get why the Tennessee fans were so upset, but that was really ridiculous what they ended up doing. I mean, that 20 minutes of that portion of the fourth quarter felt like an hour. I mean, it was like never ending. Just watching the cheerleaders, the band, everyone like exiting the field, covering their heads, and Lane Kiffin picking up the golf ball and showing it to the ref. Like, are you serious?
I mean, the play of the night was him catching that water bottle.
Yes.
And then he throws his visor to the stands, and they catch it and keep it.
Yes.
Like they wanted him back, it seemed like, but to kind of make this come full circle with LSU, you can't have that.
Well,
it's just terrible timing.
You look at that scene exactly. You look at that scene and you think of the timing of it, and you say,
"That's what we're trying to get away from."
Yes,
you can't deal with this.
That's when I knew, because I'm not on the Lane train, so that's when I knew that I was like, "Well, that's it. That's over now."
I mean, nobody deserves that.
No,
nobody
does.
Nobody should be subjected to. I mean, if that water bottle hits him in the face, he breaks his nose. I mean, he potentially shatters his face.
Or the golf ball.
That golf ball is
a
a wild move.
Who
gets one in there?
Bring a golf ball?
How do you get it in there?
And you put it in your pocket.
But why? Right,
so you could throw it at Lane Kiffin.
I mean, really? They were like waiting for the opportunity. Like, I'm bringing my golf ball. This has Lane's name all over it.
If that son of a bitch starts with it, I'm gonna peg him with a golf ball.
What?
if they're winning within the last 3 minutes, I'm launching this golf ball at his head.
Oh my God.
You have that little water bottle. I have the golf ball on 3.
No.
Well, I mean, like the scene on the sideline of all the trash collected that was coming down to the field. That's a terrible look for Tennessee.
And they didn't stop. And when they moved the students out of the student section and cleared all that out, thinking that would do it, as soon as the security guards left, and they all just came rushing right back down to the front. I mean, it was frightening. I was like, this, how do you stop this? How do you stop these
You really,
people?
I mean, get them off the field is the only thing that you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing you can do is take away what they're revolting against.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to stop.
And Lane tweeted about it, and like he handles all of this very well, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know a lot
does.
comes at him, and he is very polarizing.
Did you see the locker room scene after?
No, but I'm
No,
just
I
about to
missed
read
that.
this
Oh
tweet.
my God.
What was that like?
So
I'll tell you.
he clips the video of him catching the water bottle. It looked like there was piss in there. It looked like a little piss bottle. But he goes, "Ask for one for the road. You threw me this. Great game and atmosphere last night. Need the same thing at Ole Miss football this weekend." And he tweeted at Eli Manning. He's like, "You threw me this." He's like,
Stop.
he loved the environment. He
Yeah.
wants Ole Miss to be like that. Like, Lane, you can't be. That was a borderline
No,
riot scene.
It really was.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like you can't get to him.
Don't
and
gas that fire.
I mean,
Yeah.
the video coming out of it afterwards, he's standing in the middle of the locker room and he makes like some chant like, "All right, boys, let them have it." And I mean, they're like 1, 2, 3. F Tennessee, F Tennessee, F Tennessee, and I mean he's in the middle of
Wild boys.
There it is in the middle of him, just fist pumping. I mean it's Roll Tide, what F you for sure, But he wanted it out.
Yeah.
But look, man,
Got the golf ball with him. He's just something else.
I was getting text about it Saturday night when we got back to the hotel after the show. I looked up and just kind of saw the scene on Twitter, and I thought to myself right there in that moment, he's done. He's not going to get this LSU job because the LSU presidents are looking at that saying, this is what we can't deal with. This is the type of stuff. It doesn't matter how good of a coach he is. We can't deal with the circus because really LSU has had, they've had 2 characters as coaches the last 2 guys that you've had. I mean, they've turned into memes. They've turned into jokes. They've turned into
Internet fodder.
very, laughable figures within college football very quickly because of that type of stuff. So, that's why I believe, to me, the safest play out of everybody here is Billy Napier. If you just want football, you don't want any temptation of nothing happening from a public relations standpoint that can be perceived as anything that would be outside of brand protection of LSU football, Billy Napier is the guy. The biggest gamble on the scale was Lane Kiffin to me, but he was the one from a risk-reward standpoint that you could go out there and within 3 years you could be a national championship contender and there to stay for the next decade. But after watching Saturday night, it's just
Too much.
It's just too much.
It was a
It's
lot.
unfortunate.
It is. It's just.
I mean,
That
I don't
was-
know.
that was entertainment
I wish
there.
you could just do
It's
it
too
for like
much.
a year and just see.
Yeah,
Like,
me
can we
too.
just do a
Just
trial run,
see.
just a little,
You
just
know what it would be
yeah,
like.
and just have a little fun.
Yeah.
And then if it
We're
doesn't
not dating,
work,
we're
but if
just
it doesn't-
talking.
Exactly. Like just
Exactly.
you're just in the rotation.
Yeah. Well, you bring her to Christmas. You're
Right.
into the break.
Everybody likes her at the party.
It's confusing. It's
Good seeing
confusing.
you
I know.
again.
I know it's confusing, but
Can I still be Coach O for Halloween though?
for
Or
sure.
is that okay? So
Absolutely.
that's
Katie,
still
he's
gonna
still
be okay.
here.
Yeah.
I know he's still here.
I mean,
but,
really, she
you
should
know,
like legitimately wear the swimsuit. I mean, like if I'm
Well, I'm
the house money that he is playing with, like
Literally.
legitimate
Jeez.
house money. I mean, he's going to get $17 million over the next 3 years. Paid out.
insane.
I mean, like, are you going to? Ed Daniels asked him last night again. Are you going to coach football? And he said, no. No. I mean, I've got stuff I want to do. He said, now I tell you that now, but that might change my mind. I mean, like, coach, don't overthink it, bro.
He hasn't been coaching now.
These people that I see getting these massive amount of money buyouts and going back to coach, how miserable is your home life? Like,
know
how
what
much
else
do
to
you
do.
hate your wife? For them to pay you $22 million and you still don't want to go home? You still don't want to hang out?
I'll
Like,
go
you
coach
want to
at
go
Mount Union.
grind, recruiting, coaching? Like, how can how can like Kevin Sumlin legitimately be out there giving effort knowing that he's got $40 million in the bank from somebody telling him to leave? I mean, Orgeron is going to have stacked over the last 3 years, including the buyout, nearly $25 million in cash. Do you know who's the most surprised about that? Ed Orgeron. You know what I mean? Like, you think we're shocked by the amount of money that he's made. O probably checks his bank account probably about 20 times a day. He probably calls that automated number like 15 times a day. You know, like gets off the phone with Quincy Wiggins and gets the idea that Quincy's going to Bama, just hang up and call Capital One. You know what I mean? Your balance is $30 million. Like, it's all right, Q. Roll Tide, baby.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
best of luck.
Go get him, dude. Nick Saban's a great coach.
Oh
Quincy, I'm going to tell you something. You won't believe this. I just checked my bank account.
You're right. You should get into coaching, bro.
They paid me this to leave.
You can really dupe them.
It's gotten so bad that they will pay me not to do it anymore.
Just
gosh.
amazing the amount of money
It really is.
that he has made over the last 3 years, and good for him.
And
Good for him,
Sure,
man.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
sure.
Like, get the money. Yeah, I mean, LSU has turned into a turnstile of lottery tickets for coaches.
dead money you.
I mean, just Matt Canada, Bo Pelini, Ed Orgeron, Les Miles. I mean, the list
Scott
just
Linehan.
goes on and of guy. You know, I mean, Paul Maneri, you're still paying. I mean, just they're just lottery tickets. You get free cash. You get free cash. You get free cash. You get free
Oprah.
cash.
It is.
Exactly.
It's totally Oprah.
Does that, with the amount of money that LSU is having to spend, does that take anybody's name out of play? Because I don't think people realize, I don't even think I realize how much money LSU actually has.
Right.
We
Yeah,
talk about
clearly.
the NIL
I
stuff.
don't.
but
I don't,
I don't
clearly.
think we
You know
do.
when I realized I didn't was on the Mulkey deal.
Yeah, they could do that.
Like I didn't know that you could just go out there and do that for an LSU women's basketball coach.
Yeah.
Like you could just go like make that happen like that. Just snap it and just say, you know what?
We're doing it.
We want the Hall
Yeah.
of Famer.
Bleep
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, right. Pay her. And give her everything she wants.
Right.
Knock down the office walls, build her new complexes, whatever she wants, build for her. And then to see what you're going to have to do. I really thought that the timeline on this was being stretched out, so they were trying to poke holes in the buyout. They were trying to reduce the amount of money that they had to pay to Orgeron and try to move on it as fast as possible. And to hear, you know, Dellenger just stopped by. He broke the news on Sunday that they're paying nearly $17 million of this buyout. I mean, good. Look, you got to pay him 17. You got to pay out the staff. You got to buy them out. So you got to close up their contracts, which is going to be another $5 to $6 million, right? Then you got to
Yes.
go hire somebody, right? And say the guy that you want has a buyout. Then you've got to pay that school to talk to him to get him.
Exactly.
And then you've got to pay him to get him over here. And then you got to hire his staff. I mean, LSU's about to chew off $50 million.
Easy.
Easily.
Yeah.
$50 million LSU's about to spend in a wide just sweep of the LSU football program.
Can't we just get a little bit?
Damn.
Yo, I didn't know y'all had it like
Just a little
this.
upgrade to the
I mean-
UDL.
They don't want to mess with
I
us.
tell
wanna
John
mess with
Brady
us.
all the time, why the fuck did you let me get out of coaching, man?
I'll drink
Why'd
vodka
you
with
let me get out of that industry?
Let me stick around and get fired at
I mean,
least.
shit, they pay Will $2 million now? All he got to play is 35 games?
Jeez.
I mean, damn.
John Brady's thinking the same thing. Like,
Hell
why did I
yeah,
get out of
he is.
coaching?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, he is. I mean, you
Doesn't
just
he
6
get
or 7
$5 million right now? Aren't they giving him
Yes,
5 right
I mean
now?
it's
Like before
lottery. I'm
Christmas?
telling you, it's lottery ticket stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it is just free cash. Just here. I mean, like,
I mean, there's a chance you could line up and say, "Hey, I worked for LSU football. Like, where's my buyout?" They'd be like, "Here, just here's
Right?
100,000." I don't
I know,
know.
just shut up,
There's
here.
some poor person in accounting and payroll that just hasn't slept in a month. Like, I don't know how to do this.
Tommy Howard, Orgeron is going to make $467,000 a month for the next 36 months.
That's nauseating.
And you even contemplate going back to football? Like, are you serious, bro? Like some Thursday afternoon, you're going to be on some
break that-
practice field somewhere worrying about some freshman making weight? Like, and you're the type of guy that wants to go hang poolside? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you got $470 a month coming at you, man.
He's Bobby
Go
Bonilla.
get the 5-star hotel in Tahiti for a week.
He's not looking at 5-star
Just
recruits.
shut
He's
it
looking at
down,
5-star
dude.
hotels.
I know, exactly.
$567,000 a month.
The same thing I would ask, like, do we really think that he's going to be focused on Arkansas in 3 weeks? You know what I mean? Like, do you really believe he's going to be game planning to try and stop Alabama?
I wonder that.
Like, no, don't wonder. He ain't.
But after Saturday, I kind of feel like maybe he will.
I think on Saturday, I don't know this. I'm just saying, I think on Saturday, he was like, hey, boys, let's play. Jake, call the plays. Durante, let him loose. Like, put him in there. Let him just play.
Maybe so.
You know what I mean? Like, the majority of the time, his headset was
off.
his microphone was flipped up.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Throughout the first 5 games of the year, he was clutching that microphone.
Yeah.
Mother bleeping Jake Peets. I mean, you motherfucker. You can see him.
Yeah.
You can see he was like, you motherfuckers.
You're killing
You
me here.
motherfuckers. I mean, you could see his lips just like, you sons of bitches. On
Jake
Saturday,
probably had the same,
on Saturday, he was working on his tan.
Yeah.
I mean, he had his shit rolled up a little bit, flipped it back, kind of popped the collar down a little bit. Yeah. What's that, J boy?
How we doing?
Tongue's looking good today, huh? Yeah. I mean,
Scored
just,
again.
yeah, right hot. I mean,
TDP,
just
take
throw
off.
it to Brian Thomas again.
I love these guys.
I mean, just, this is great, huh?
What a team.
They gonna pay me $480 a month.
Jeez.
J-Boy.
Yeah, right. Where's she at?
Where was she? Oh,
I don't know.
Multiples.
I kind of feel like he might really start
What's her
winning.
name?
he had.
Yeah. Well, but, you know, he probably will. You know why? Because they got a good football team.
Yeah,
and he's
exactly.
out
Like, that's the deal.
Yeah. He
looks
Like,
loose.
you got
He
a
looks
bunch of
retired.
freaks out there that, I mean, like, don't think. I mean, Ole Miss is like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
They're good again.
They woke up.
They figured it out.
They
Exactly.
figured it
They
out. They're
did
just gonna
figure it
play.
out.
Now we're gonna have to scheme these guys.
And Lane's, dodging piss bottles.
I know.
So they got their own thing to deal with. LSU seems like the less volatile team at this point.
Wow,
They really
$650 an hour.
I was hoping somebody would do that.
That's amazing.
Shout out Jeff
Leave it to
Marcon.
Jeff to do that. Thanks,
Thank you,
Jeff.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're hired.
Call.
Yeah,
Just
that was nice.
it is
Daniel Newman.
amazing, man. It is amazing to look at the amount of money that LSU is distributing to non-working people. You know what I mean? Like,
Or a retirement home.
sheesh.
I wonder what Ed had his whole Saturday ahead of him too. After that, I'm sure he had himself a time, a win.
I know,
He
don't
did
you
look
wonder?
loose. He looked a little
Yes.
loose.
Yeah.
And you talk about the headset thing. I mean, there's quotes in the write up about the game, the one that probably not a lot of people read because it's been about everything else. But it's him going back with Jake Peets on the headset. It's like, Coach, you want to run it or throw it here? And he goes, Jake, do whatever you want to do, and he play action pass touchdown to win the game.
Wait, they catch him saying that?
Yeah, they quoted him on it. He was like, Jake, you do it, like you call it.
I mean, it worked.
That's amazing.
So
It
what you think it was? Like, I think O was kind of strangling everybody a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
he definitely was. The pressure was on, man.
Right, and that's
I
when he
mean,
tensed
that
up.
story that we told 2 weeks ago that was confirmed, I think in Dellenger's story, he talked about him throwing that chair over the hype video at Kentucky. That is a clear the walls are closing in on me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the pressure of this thing.
Yeah, I'll fight my mother.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just it's weighing me down so much that I'm freaking out over a hype video and I'm breaking chairs on the road. I mean, it closed in on him, and Saturday it looked like he was really, even yesterday, that had to be an embarrassing moment, right? To have a press conference
Yes.
within the middle of the season saying that you're no longer the coach. I mean, that ultimately take the money out of it. You know, you're just a football coach. That's a moment that you never want to have in your professional life.
Public execution.
And
You could see that on his face
yes,
walking into
his
it.
eyes.
Yeah.
You could see it in his eyes. He was very embarrassed.
Yeah, yes.
He was very.
It was awkward.
He was very hurt.
Yeah.
You know, he said his feelings hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is understandable. But I could also sense that he was relieved.
He looked it.
You know,
Yeah.
like I don't have to answer these questions anymore.
I don't care. Do whatever you want with the hype video. I don't care.
Yeah,
like
I
you
don't-
might see the actual Ed Orgeron where he's just like, I'm
Yeah.
actually kind of fun to be around.
Yeah.
But he's been so just intense about this whole thing. He's like, I thought I wanted this job. Fuck it, it's over. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Untuck my shirt.
Right.
Let me go have a good time.
Take
and
the
win.
shirt off.
Yes.
Or maybe he'll keep it on now.
We might.
Great way to celebrate for Tiger fans would be to get in touch with Relief Med.
Yes, it would be a
R-E
great way.
Leaf, Leaf, med.com as a great celebration to a Saturday in beautiful weather, taking care of your anxiety, of course, with your medical marijuana, because it is very now legal here in the state. Medical marijuana is legal, safe, and a simple process, and available to all the people in Louisiana today. All you got to do is log on to Relief, RELEAF, med.com and get a same-day telemedicine visit and go to your local pharmacy in your area. That's right here, one in Essen Lane in Baton Rouge. And you can pick up your subscription today over at Relief Med.
Subscription or prescription?
Right?
Prescription. Sorry.
But subscribe to this.
Yeah, subscribe to our show. Subscribe to our show. Get prescribed to medical marijuana through Relief Med today. If you suffer from arthritis, chronic pain, depression, insomnia, cancer, epilepsy, depression, the list can be found on reliefmed.com so you can know who qualifies and how to get it. But get in touch with Relief today, RELEAF, med.com, reliefmed.com.
We need you to shoot out like a poof of smoke when this ad read starts, Lloyd.
Well, I can do that.
Not a legit one. Easy. Off the air.
You can hear the light. We need just a lighter sound. Like Lil Wayne on every track.
All right, we were supposed to, the lighter.
Yeah.
Something's about to happen. About to have my mind blown for 2 minutes. You said what?
All right, Rohan is going to be here in a couple of minutes. Give us a second to reset. We'll be right back here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. True Blue Water, true hydration at its finest. Right now, you're only a few minutes away from getting your 5-gallon water delivered to you, just like we are over here at the UDL. All you got to do is log on to truebluewater.com. That's TRU bluewater.com. The website's fantastic over at truebluewater.com. You can get your service and find out how quick it is. You can schedule a delivery, even hop on the billing system right there at truebluewater.com. TRU bluewater.com. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Robert Lowe says, what if any assistant coaches stay? I got to imagine that you'll interview a couple of them. Corey Raymond off the top. I mean, Raymond's got reputation of being the best defensive backs coach in the country. Routinely, he's a fantastic recruiter. His name comes up every single year for jobs. Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, those guys offer him all the time and try to get him on staff. So I'd imagine that he will be a part. There he is.
Hey.
I imagine that he will be a part of the process next. Mickey Joseph we'll get an interview. What's up, Six? Yeah. Brian Fletcher Painting. Shout out to Briar Fletcher Painting. It is not a painting. It's an art.
Is that their tagline?
Man, you smelling good this morning.
Right, sound good.
That's some good cologne you got on there, bro.
I'll tell you, baby.
6 on 6, baby. 6 on 6.
I always try to keep it interesting.
Yes. It's definitely interesting. I'm curious now.
Different fragrance.
What type of odor is that?
Well, at the morning wake.
My meditation this morning.
Fletcher Painting, get in touch with our guy, Brian Fletcher Painting. He does great work, all of historic buildings around Louisiana. He's in touch with the architects directly on big projects. He can find them on social media, Brian Fletcher Painting, and every time Rose here, it is compliments of FP, Fletcher Painting. It has been a wild 72-hour ride for the LSU football team. You and I talked on Friday, and we anticipated some news to pop over the weekend. We did not expect LSU to win the game and then be out of a coach on Sunday. What do you make of the last couple of days for LSU football?
Hey, very, very interesting, to say the least.
Yes.
It's damn interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, I've had a roller coaster of emotions. I'm thinking, he's out and he's not out Monday. I'm thinking he's out Tuesday, not out Tuesday. They win Saturday. They win.
Set a rushing record.
TDP went crazy.
God, he's amazing.
Looked like
he went
Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl.
You remember Tecmo too?
Yes.
You remember them high knees?
Hell
baby?
yes.
I saw that boy. I was proud of him. And then
He was proud of him.
Yeah.
And then now, Orgeron's still here.
But he's fired.
He's fired, but he's still here. Hey, but I'm gonna tell you what now. They get a boy a boatload of money.
Yes.
$17.1 million.
I'll do whatever you want for
No.
We were
Jesus.
we were calculating about
$30
$30 million over the last 2 years for Orgeron when it's all said and done
Yeah.
in coaching football. We said the most surprised person in the room,
Orgeron.
Ed Orgeron. You know what I mean? Like,
Can't believe I made it alone.
What is that, J boy? Do I have a fishing trip for us, J boy?
That hole just got big.
We're renting a yacht.
We're going
Yeah,
across
right.
Hey, listen, man. That
Tell
boy going
Culotta, here's
crazy.
his stop. We're dumping him here.
Right here.
He probably ain't even mad at you
Right.
anymore, dude.
Yeah, he's not mad at you no more.
Yeah, right. I was
You
kind
gotta pay.
of thinking that yesterday. I mean,
That's
all
over
this
with.
money, man.
You're welcome.
He has to be happy.
Question from the top, Coach.
You walk into the zoo like,
Sure.
I'm looking for you.
Yeah, look, I got you, buddy.
You got 5 questions. You get 5 questions.
I'm waiting for your dumbass.
Bro,
to
why
pop
were they
up.
so good on Saturday? Did Jake Peets call those? Did he call the game?
Man, listen, I get on here and I slay JP's when he's effing up, right? So I got to give him a little credit when he does some things right. And even though it was, listen, let's not get it twisted now. This game plan Saturday was the most vanilla I've ever seen.
Okay, wow.
You got me, baby.
Yeah, they're just running the counter, right? They just
Counter tray and counter tray keep.
Yep.
Counter tray keep, and counter tray throw to the flat, high low one side. We're going to hit the tight end in the flat, 82 or 27 or 10, and then we're going to high low one side, the same side we rolling to on the flat. That's all they did last night, run a counter tray. I don't know what the hell Florida was doing. I mean,
Todd Grantham, we're leaving you in Baton Rouge, buddy.
dude.
They might pay you.
You need to give your money to Orgeron.
That was old school Les Miles in the box football. Well, we're going to line up, we're going to run. I mean, it worked.
I know.
You know what I mean? And if you look, the boy never threw any deep balls. The only shots, all the shots were very calculated. Now, we got the dumb rub on the pick, the B going down the right side, number 11.
Brian Thomas. Yeah.
And that was a bad pick play. It was so obvious, And so that was a bad, I understand the design, but it wasn't executed well. But besides that, deep ball, that was the only one you see. You saw them take the shots when they got like in the 40 and 30 on the plus side. Then they'll go with the steal, with the counter tray action, and he just pops back and hit Jeray Jenkins over the top. Those type of things. Now, very well executed. But it was simple. The guys knew what they were doing. The offensive line especially. Hats off to the offensive line coach, man, because I know he's been under fire. But the end of Kentucky to last week, it's been simple. Them guys been coming around, knowing who they're going to hit.
Yeah.
Florida was in their possession, in their face every time, letting them know who to hit. It was unbelievable,
I
man.
mean, Ingram and Bradford pulling on
Dude.
Saturday looked like the freaking Chicago Bears in
Dude.
'85. I mean, it was
because
like
the defenders were like
good
right there.
Lord.
I mean, we ran the counter trade 28 times. You know what I mean? And to our credit, man, like he kept running it, and TDP kept finding a hole and kept getting through, and he ran angry. He ran like a damn man possessed, man. I mean, I've seen him run hard before, but that was a whole
no, that's the best game.
different
I mean,
effort,
obviously,
dude.
this is an obvious statement, but watching him in high school and watching him in the last couple of years, that's the best I've ever seen him run. And I mean, like I called his game against U High his junior year, and he went off in that game. Like people were bouncing off of him.
Yeah, and it was almost
Saturday.
like when he got through, if he got through and there was a hole or if it was people there, he was just looking to run through whoever was there. And if it was one
he
guy
brought
in
it back
space,
in a couple times to hit
ran
people.
Through it, man. He ran.
What
That
do you
was tough.
what do you expect the rest of the year? How do you expect this
Well,
to
I
kind of?
think- listen. Nah, 4 interceptions. By who we played? Florida. 4 interceptions by Florida. 1 return for a touchdown. 2 returned inside the 20-yard line. You got me, baby? To set us up in great field position going forward. So we needed every bit of that running game.
Yeah.
Because Florida shot themselves in the foot a bunch of doggone times. And not to take anything at all away from us and the victory. That's how it goes. But Florida helped us a whole bunch in that football game. And defensively, I don't know what the hell they were doing defensively because they helped us tremendously in that regard for them standing that dumbass 4-3 and trying to bring those linebackers outside. And I don't even know what they were doing.
What was LSU doing defensively? What did you see from LSU defensively?
LSU, we didn't tackle at all yesterday. We didn't tackle. I know we threw some new guys in new position, flat outside and things like that. I still think they played hard as hell. But defensively, man, we didn't fit. There was no run fits. You still saw guys. Honestly, it was kind of a opposite of the offense. When the offense was getting the calls in late, it looked like the defense was getting some calls in late, wasn't lining up. You saw all the backs for Florida when they swung out, any play action, and they swung out, they were wide-ass open.
By themselves.
Coming down, they was wide open. If it wasn't for like a ball that was slightly behind them where they had to stop in their tracks to catch it, it would have been a bunch more of that. So it was the missed assignments by the linebackers, just communication certain times during the game, and we didn't tackle as well as we have during the season in this past football game.
One of the names that keeps popping up is your former offensive coordinator, Jimbo Fisher. I don't know if it's a smokescreen. I don't know if people are getting people to look over here while Woodward does the work over here. But one thing that cannot be argued is that those two know each other, and they're tight, and they've got a good working relationship. Does that make any sense for you that Jimbo could be here next?
I'm gonna talk to him and ask him.
Call him.
Man, that's all I can do. I don't know. You know, that's my guy. That's my guy.
Hell yeah.
I know if he got an interest, he gonna say something to me. He might not tell me, yeah, boy, I'm coming or
Right.
But he gonna be like,
It would be fun to go back to Baton Rouge.
The one thing I know
Bro,
is
you
this,
still
dog.
down there?
The one thing I know is this, dog. We need here with the program to where we are right now. We know what we coming off of, and I'm not shitting on Coach Orgeron.
Right.
And nothing
What's
like
done
that.
is done.
What's
It's time to
is
turn the
done.
page.
Turn the page. And the one thing you do know, man, this program needs right now, we don't need a stabilizer. We don't need somebody that just coming in here trying to right the ship, trying to whatever. We need somebody that's love LSU.
Committed.
We're looking at somebody that committed to LSU, that this is their stop, that this is where they want to be. Somebody like what Coach O said in the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I never take anything away from Coach O. Do he love LSU? Do he love? No freaking doubt about it in my mind. I don't care what the issues is that he's had with these girls and off the field and all that. He loves LSU, period. He's just a man that made some mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it cost you, period. But we need somebody, and also we need a head coach, and again, not a shot at him, that know all facets of this game.
Yeah. A football coach.
Yes, man, we need one of them. And if I was to have a say in the matter, which I don't, and Jimbo don't care about leaving 75, and LSU and he knows Scott, the only thing that gets Jimbo to LSU is that relationship.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Because he going to know Scott got his back. He already knows Scott, what he wants as far as what he wants to do with the program, the money that he needs, where he need to put it, what the NIL shit, all the stuff he going to have to be 100 with, because the one thing you know about A&M, they ain't tripping about no bread.
Yeah, they're never going to run out of money.
They ain't tripping about bread at all.
Yeah.
And they ain't tripping about, Jimbo got a freaking $15-20 million facility going up on the Endo. He got another $30 million going over here for this. Jimbo got about $150 million worth of renovation going on at Texas A&M right now. I know.
And whatever he wants, he gets.
He gets it. Whatever he wants, he get. And that's why he left Florida State, because they weren't willing to put the commitment into him to build that program. And he knew that, and now you see where the program is from them not being committed to it. He know what he getting at A&M. He definitely want to stay in the SEC. And I know this for a fact. I know this for a fact, just through conversations with him. He love LSU.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. And I know if he was to decide to come back here, it'll be a done deal. He won't leave this bitch unless he go to pros or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that'll be my choice. You know how I feel about the man. I think he's a great coach. I think he's a great coach and a great developer of the position and of offensive position. I can't speak of defense, but I know cats ain't coming in here leaving the same way. You know what I mean? You're going to be challenged. You're going to be held accountable.
Developed.
All that. Yeah. So that'd be a great choice for me. I don't know if it's a smoke screen. I know it'll take a lot, though.
Yeah. It's going to take a ton.
But if it can happen, the relationship between Scott and Austin and Jimbo, that's what'll bring them back.
Yeah.
If at all.
Golly, I didn't even think about the Austin Thomas angle with Jimbo Fisher. I mean, he spent time.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, those three men that have worked together and been so good together and know each other like the back of each other's hands. I mean, that'll be great.
We've talked about this a little bit. You know him personally. You haven't played for him or coached. What do you think about Dave Aranda in this gig?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not think that Coach Aranda would have been a good head coach because all of my interactions with him and just all now, as far as defensive mind, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant defensive mind. I didn't think that he was going to be a guy that was a good fundraiser. I didn't think he was going to be a guy that would be able to be in front of audiences and relish in that as what head coaches do. I don't know what he's doing at Baylor, but I do know what he's doing on the field. So that in itself is attractive because I know what type of person he is. I know the man that he is from speaking with him and being around him. I know what kind of coach he is. And he's got to be doing something right at Baylor from the building and the bringing in money part. So, I mean, I think he would be a great guy if he's interested to at least talk to.
It seems like this is going to come from Saban's tree. I know Aranda is not on and doesn't come from Saban's tree, but Jimbo does. Mel Tucker up at Michigan State does. Billy Napier over in Lafayette does. Mario Cristobal at Oregon comes from the tree. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss is on the tree. Do you think that it's pretty evident that they're going to come from somebody that has been attached to Saban?
I mean, there's too many of them. And there's too many of them that are qualified for this job that you can't help but take a look at them. All those guys that you just mentioned, with the exception of Kiffin, all have, from what I understand, spotless records. So any of those guys interview list, I believe in Scott, man, and I believe that Scott knows that this is his hire. This is his. He hired the baseball coach and Miss Markey, but this is going to be the one that he's known
his legacy.
for. This is his, and I know listen. And Scott, I trust. I don't know. You always say whenever I get ready to say something about Scott, I just cut myself off because it ain't nothing to say to him about this. If there's one person,
he gets it.
Oh, man, no doubt about it.
Yeah, he overly gets it.
No doubt about it.
What'd you see from Max on Saturday?
Max threw the ball 24 times. Max got to be in between 20 to 28 times, and that was perfect. That was perfect, man. Like, Max don't need to have the burden of carrying the load. The first thing I looked at when that game was over on ESPN, I looked at how many times he threw the football. He threw the football 24 times. Perfect. ran the ball a bunch, perfect. The game plan was so simple and easy for him. You can tell. Even the difficult balls, a couple that he threw across the middle, he knew where they were going to be. And even though he got his head hit a couple times, he still was accurate with the ball. They didn't ask him to do a bunch. They didn't ask him to do a bunch at all, especially not with the running game going. I mean, I think he played a very efficient football game. He knew he didn't have to do too much because the running game was there. He kept the ball out of the arms ways of those guys, put it where only we can get it. Because, I mean, the turnover thing was huge. You know, it was huge. Yeah. So for us to not have any, that was major. And then with the penalties, that whole thing, the turnover battle, man, is what, besides the run game, the turnover battle is what won that football game. And them setting us up inside the 20 and then returning one for a touchdown.
You are in a executive role at one of the most dominant 7-on-7 groups in the Southeast at F3 Elite. Do you get a sense on what the recruiting message is around LSU football now and what has happened over the last 24 hours? I know that you don't talk to those guys every day, all day, but you have an understanding of just that.
We have like group talks with our guys, you know, through chat. They say slick stuff in the comments, you know what I mean? Like, Coach, what's going on over there with LSU, man? I ain't going over there, Coach. They don't know who's going to be over there, Coach.
Dave.
Yeah.
Dave will come tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's like they are talking about that, you know what I mean? Guys are talking, who coach, you know who the coach going to be? They asking questions and things like that. So right now in the recruiting scale, and honestly, I talked to Verge about this yesterday, like how it's going to be with recruiting these guys with him still being on till the end of the year.
Yeah.
And the guys not knowing, you know, who. And he said the same thing, you know, similar to when Les Miles got let go. You know, you have some guys that's going to leave. You have some guys that's going to stay. It don't matter if it's before or after. It's just what the scope is.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen, you know. So, you know, they have their list of who they're targeted, and I know a name's going to come down before the end of the season.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what do you think the timeline needs to be on this? It needs to be pretty quick, right?
I think the timeline, at least you know who it is, so these recruits could start associating themselves or disassociating themselves with whoever that guy is. You know, you may have some recruits that, hey, I don't like his philosophy. I don't, you know, track record when they go to recruiting and revisiting, seeing who the coach is, what his track record is, where he's been, who he's coached, what has he done. When those guys get to looking at that, that's why I say the hire has to be a good splash, man. It has to be somebody good, because if you hire if it's a Jimbo as opposed to a Napier, one name carries a little bit more weight. Not anything against them as a football coach, but one name carries a little bit more weight, and also does in the eyes of recruiting. You know, so it's going to be interesting to see the timetable and how quickly they do name someone, because I do think recruiting, not just our players, but also the high school players, are going to factor into it.
Yeah. What do you expect of them the next couple of weeks? Do you expect them to play more similar to what you saw Saturday, or more similar to what you've seen the previous 5 weeks?
No, I expect that. Well, listen, you know, it'd be so, because we'll be talking so much different about this if they didn't have them 4 turnovers. We'll be talking so much different about this. But football is football, and they had them. So if the defense can continue to get the turnovers, you know what you're going to get at Ole Miss. You're going to have to score. Kiffin's going to come in there and try to put 80,000 points on the board.
Right.
This is an audition for Kiffin.
Yeah, it's an interview. It's an on-the-field interview.
Exactly, for Lane. And you know what he's thinking. There's no doubt in his mind if he gets offered the LSU job, he's gone.
He's gone. Yeah.
You know what I mean? LSU, Ole Miss.
Right.
What do you think?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's an audition. That boy's going to show us everything he got on offense.
You know where I hear his name right now? And this is probably Jimmy Sexton doing his work, but now with the Miami Dolphins, his name is now starting to circulate.
As what?
As the head coach.
Kiffin?
Yeah. I mean, after Flores yesterday, they said they want his ass. No?
I don't know what Jimmy's great. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Jimmy's great.
Yeah, right. He's just good at his job. He's just good at his job.
Love Jimmy. Jimmy's fantastic.
Was he your agent? Was he your first agent?
Hell no. I've only had one agent.
Really?
Joe Siegel. That's it.
Wow.
One agent my entire time.
He got some stars.
Yeah, he got some stroke, baby. That's my man.
Good to see you, bro.
Boy. My
Good to
main
see you, baby.
man, always.
Smell fantastic.
Free, baby.
That is the latest with Rohan, as always presented by Fletcher Painting. We appreciate your interaction here this morning. Make sure you like, share, comment the post. We got more content coming at you this week. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We're driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Thanks for being here this morning.